9:20.
You're listening to the Radio Wammo Breakfast, only on Kiwi.
The best ideas are free, so true, so true. Most of the best things in life are free. It's Ben Young, of course, joining us as he does on a Monday here on the show. Bwaggy.com, BWAGY, and also on Twitter as well. Good morning to you, Ben.
Good morning.
Today we're talking about digital products and whether or not you actually own digital products online.
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was ownership. If you go and buy a book, if I buy a book, I read it, and then I pass it to you, clearly I still own it, but by giving it to you, I lose the benefit.
Yeah.
If I want to read it again,
right,
I have to get it back off you.
That's why it's a loan.
Yeah. Yeah, I want it back.
Yeah.
So under that model, you know exactly what you own.
Yeah.
But when you download a song or a ringtone, do you actually own that? Because technically, I can give that song or ringtone to you, and I can still keep it myself.
Not if it's got DRM in it.
Not if it has DRM in it, but there are ways around that, as we know. So then the concept becomes, do you actually own that content? And part of Section 92A, which was that copyright bill that was proposed earlier this year but got taken back.
It was beaten down in February.
Beaten down.
It's a little while ago now, but boy, that was big news at the time.
It was big news because it was far too broad. First it was far too broad, and then it was guilty before being proved innocent, rather than the opposite way round.
Yeah.
Now, the issue with that was that if you go and view, say, the Herald, technically you've been served a copy of that website, because that's what happens when you access a website. Yeah. They send you a copy for you to look at.
Yeah.
So technically that was copyright infringement.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's the same as if you listen to a radio show. By streaming it down to your computer and holding a copy, technically that was copyright infringement under the law. So, of course, that got cut back because it's such a new area to operate in.
Yeah.
And from a legal perspective, like people have been doing this for a decade, but from a legal perspective, they still can't figure out how you actually own it. Now, in the States last week, a judge actually ruled that when you play a ringtone, it's not a performance, because artists were demanding that every time your phone rang, they should be getting a share.
Yeah. I wouldn't say artists were demanding that. It was probably the record labels.
The middleman.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing, when you look at it from that model, clearly it doesn't look like you actually own the product. You actually lease the product. And it's the same with a lot of other services, whereby if you download a movie, say off iTunes, you can rent it or you can own it. But if you delete it, some services do not let you download it again.
Don't they?
No. So if you can't do that, do you actually own the product?
That's a really good question.
And it's quite a compelling argument. Some people say you do because you've paid something, there's been a transaction, and when you, say, buy a movie, it might cost you $20 to download it, but the cost of delivery for them is very, very little. So surely you should be able to own that and re-download that as much as you'd like.
But if we look at it in the context of some physical things like a CD, when you buy a CD, you own that copy of it, but you don't own the rights to be able to do what you want with it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't go and play it out in public.
Yeah. Let's look at it from a different perspective. I do blogging every day, so on my blog I own that content. So if you copy that, I have I have legal options to take your website down, and it's called like a DMCA notice, which is digital management, or I forget. But basically, the person serving the other website will say, well, this is in breach, and then they'll take it down. But if they copy my content, then reference me, chances are I'm not going to have a problem with that.
You don't subscribe to the Creative Commons side of things, where fair use comes into play?
Not for my blog. I haven't taken a position on that yet. But the question then comes, when my content sits on another blog, even though it's referenced to me, what if I want to take that content down from my blog and then remove it off theirs as well? Do I actually own that content, or do they own it?
Interesting, because it's just a series of words.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a copy and paste. And that was another issue with Section 92A, that if you copied and pasted, I think it was more than 8 words, that was considered copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So if you wrote a blog post and copied and pasted the title of a headline of an article, that was actually technically copyright infringement. And if they didn't like what they were saying, they could then use that avenue to take it down. So the hard thing here is weighing up freedom of speech. You can buy something and then mix it up and play with it and do what you want. Like when you buy a book, you can rip out certain pages and give it to your friends, or you can copy excerpts and give it to your friends.
Yeah.
Or, you can highlight certain chapters. But when you do the same with digital content, should you be allowed to do that? Yeah. So the legal point hasn't been settled yet. So what I'm wondering is, what level do you actually own your content? And what level do you actually own the MP3s that are sitting on your iPod? If I steal your iPod, how are you going to replace that music if you don't have a copy on your computer?
Well, I guess in that case, you'd be relying on a service that acknowledges the fact that you've already paid for it before, so you can re-download it. But as you say, not every service...
Yeah, they don't let you re-download.
Yeah.
So technically, when you look at you can't re-download, you should own that product.
Yeah. Interesting question. So at the moment, this is all in a bit of a
it's still up in the air.
Legal limbo.
Yeah.
Really, isn't it?
It's just the old legal system trying to understand the new way that information is being shared. Because the way that information is shared and mashed up, from video to audio to words, is changing much faster than the law system can keep up.
All right, well, those poses some very interesting questions. Let's look at something else, something from your book, The Best Ideas Are Free. You can do what you want, is something that you've said right at the end of the book.
Yeah, so let me just frame this. I've grown up in a world where it was about 9 or 10 when the internet came about. And I come from a Gen Y perspective, so we're already built in with the perspective that we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
So
for better or for worse, yeah.
Yeah, for better or for worse. So once we take that perspective and then look at what we can actually do online, you can actually do what you want in terms of there are so many resources and connections. Whatever you've been wanting to do, chances are you can start working on it today.
What's an example of that?
A good example would be my friend who wanted to start a fashion label, and he didn't know where to start. And so I pointed him to Alibaba.com. Now, Alibaba is almost like Trade Me, but for B2B resources.
Business to business, yes.
Business to business. So you can jump on there and you can do things like buy frozen strawberries, or you can buy jeans, or you can buy radio-controlled cars. And
it's a worldwide sort of marketplace?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was started up initially to get Chinese products exported to the world.
Okay.
And then Yahoo bought a share and they went public. So it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And so just using that, you can do things as simple as set up your own radio-controlled car store. Or, start your own range of jeans. Order a first batch, modify them, send them back, get them to change them. And then suddenly you're actually doing what you'd like to do. Some other great examples would be what we're doing right here. We're streaming this online. This is the Radio Wammo almost internet TV show.
Yeah.
Now, anyone can do that. It doesn't cost too much to get a webcam. It's free to stream it online.
So barrier to entry is almost non-existent.
Yeah, the only barrier to entry is ourselves. Like getting off the couch, stop watching Lost or Survivor. Pop into Dick Smith, pick up a webcam, plug it in.
Yeah.
And if you look on YouTube, there are thousands of teenagers already doing this. They're going, we want to make a TV show about Pokemon, so they do that.
Yeah.
And there's the ever so popular Gary Vaynerchuk, who runs an internet TV show called Wine Library TV.
Yeah.
And every day all he does is drinks a few glasses of wine and shares what he thinks about it.
And our local version of that, Wine Vault TV as well.
Jason Bryant, Wine Vault, it does quite well. So it's the same kind of thing. With using the internet as a platform, you can virtually do what you want. It's just finding out how to do it, then doing it.
Yeah. I'm really keen to check out their website, actually.
Alibaba.com. So Alibaba.com.
So if you had an idea for a product, you might be able to find the primary sort of resources to make that product on that website.
Exactly.
Well, that's pretty choice.
So I ended up in hospital a couple of years ago, and I really liked the fruit chips that they had in the vending machine. Hospital food, it's not too great.
About like banana chips?
They were apple chips.
Right.
So once I left hospital, I couldn't find them again. So what I did is contacted a few suppliers on Alibaba, and what I found was, in a 4-week turnaround, assuming I could get people to design stuff straight away, I could have my own brand of Apple chips here in New Zealand ready for sale and up to health standard.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You didn't want to do it, though.
Oh, yeah, didn't have enough time.
The only barrier was yourself, Ben.
Exactly.
Hey, if you've got any thoughts on some of the ideas that Ben was talking about, the copyright ideas, and also, whether or not you own digital content, and of course you can do what you want, hit him up on Twitter, twitter.com/Bwaggy, BWAGY. Check out his blog as well, bwaggy.com. And you'll be able to find this as a video up on YouTube once again through the Kiwi FM website as well. And you can feel free to make some comments below the video as well. Ben, we'll see you next time.
Yep, look.